Everybody, and welcome to another episode on FS4T, the podcast. My name is Chris, and I am really excited to bring you another episode because in this one, we get to talk to somebody extraordinary. Now, this is a person who is young, fresh out of USC for filmmaking, and he is now editing feature films. So I thought it'd be great to sit down with him and talk about his kind of role and how he got into editing features, what it was like as an assistant editor. What does an assistant editor do? Because if any of you actually want to edit, this is a great episode. This is one that is a game changer because he reveals so much about the inner workings of editors, directors, sound editors, assistant editors, all those relationships that coincide together when making a film. And it is gold nugget after gold nugget of information. There's things in here that I didn't even know. And I thought I was pretty well versed, but I'm not because I'm still learning. So I want you guys to settle in, pay attention, and take some notes and listen carefully to what he has to say, because a lot of what he has to say is brilliant. So please welcome Yang-Hua. Welcome, man. How are you?
Thank you. How are you? Good. It's my pleasure to be here.
So and I'm going to be real with you, so when I reach out to people, I go through, first is movies that I loved, and I look at all the cast and crew, and Mass was a movie I didn't see until, maybe a month into 2022. And I was just completely riveted by that movie. That was just such an exceptional, to me, it was just extraordinary. And a huge testament to, of course, Fran's directing, I'm sure. The writing, the script was great. The performances were wonderful. But to me, I think it takes a really unique editor to make something, a bottle movie like that, really kind of maintain that edge of your seat suspense in the same way. Because I've been comparing this to the original 12 Angry Men. And it's on that level of just execution.
Thank you.
So it is something that this movie in general could be a stage play, but it's phenomenal. So I'm incredibly grateful for you coming on the show, and hopefully encouraging some of our students. And as you mentioned before, we went live here. Your career is kind of just starting out, right, and just starting to blossom. So that kind of fresh face in Hollywood is something I think that's really cool that our students could really relate to. Going to film school, graduating, and then starting to work in the industry. So, tell me, how did you get started? Because you went to USC, correct?
Yeah, I got into USC to get my master's degree.
Oh, wow.
And then I'm from Taiwan. I finished my undergrad in Taiwan for theater directing and acting.
Oh,
and
cool.
Then I came to US to finish my master in filmmaking. So at USC we have a program that right before you graduate, they will pair you with the industry mentor. Pretty much it's USC alumni. So luckily I got paired with Sarah Boy. She was my mentor. She's a great editor. Now she's become great director right now. And then, so she was my mentor. And I remember after graduate, probably first half year, I was in a studio called Relativity Studios. I think right now it's gone, but I was there to do some like a media assisting kind of thing, like inside the studio, trying kind of just transcoding and then knowing coda and then delivery of files, not anything particular creative. Just mostly deliveries clips in different format to different platform to different executive. But a half year later, I feel like that's not really something I want to do. So I reached out to my mentor. Really fortunately, like she has a friend who was looking for assistant editor for a feature film. At the time, it was not union film. But if I'm able to being hired before the production start, then the project will flip into union. So I didn't need to do my hours. I just got into union. So yeah, fortunately everything went well and I got hired, I got a job and I flipped into union. And then since then I was assistant editor for a couple of years and then become editors. Yeah.
That's awesome. So describe for our students, if you will, what is the difference between an assistant editor and the actual editor? Because, we see on IMDb, there'll be editor, and then, there can be 4 people in the editorial department, 2 or 3 assistant editors. What is that dynamic like, and what is the actual role of that position?
I mean, assistant editor it's really assistant to the editor. Put that way, it's assistant for the entire post-production too, like trying to make all the connection join together. So it's not like an office job that answer a phone call, type anything, or give a coffee or something. No, it's mostly preparing the dailies when the daily is coming in. So when the production finishes shooting, they have depends on what's your budget, how you scale, and then what's your workflow in the post-production. But mainly, assistant editor will be the first one receiving the dailies in the post-production department. Once they receive, they will sync, group. Sometimes it requires script sync, is just in Avid. They will do all that kind of work together, and then to prepare bin or a folder in the editing software for the editors to start to work. Depends on their relationship and how they want to organize. So when the editors start cutting, assistant will still working on the sorting of dailies, making sure all the departments communicate well, like sound department or anything is wrong, we need to report back to set from assisting editor will report back, say, our sound is missing mix or missing any tracks, or our camera actually has a bump or has a flare. So the assistant editor need to also be on top of this everything, that pay attention to all details on the dailies. Also the coda, knowing if the footage coming in is correct for the format we are working on. Just during the production time when we are working. Then after that, they will start to do, assistant editor will try to do a mini turnover to test the workflow between offline and online editing. If the footage will be able to link, to make sure all the media will link after the finish being cut. So all those processes will be earlier on for the assistant to be part of it, to kind of on top of that, the technical aspect of it. Then during the post-production period time, assistant will start, also will happen sooner too, will start to help the editor to do some temp sound effect, to do some temp music, to do some temp VFX. That's all the temp workflow. It will assisting editor. Assistant editor will assist editor to help to make the film more polished, and then go on to editor cut, director cut, producer cut, to network, studio, until to lock. So it's like a long process. Depends on what the budget, how to scale. But the assistant will assist editor, assist the editor. I think that is going through the whole process. So it's not to the end, like a concrete when the film actually locked. Hey, okay, just do the work. Now it's also very important for assistant editor to continue carry the film on, because the assistant editor need to do a turnover to every department. Like we need to turn over to music department, sound department, to a mix stage, to coloring, to the online. And that will be from the offline to online this process. So assistant editor played a very important role in this whole post-production department. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, and so it seems there might be some everybody that goes into film school seemingly wants to be a director, or just come out of the gates and get handed a feature to edit right from the beginning, which I don't know if that ever happens.
Really, it's possible if you're able to make some kind of big splash before you're out of school, like you make something go into the festivals, has a big kind of respond from the review or something the studio willing to approach to you or like that. Otherwise, it's very tough. It's really difficult to make your first breakthrough. Yeah.
But it seems so incredibly vital and important to the entire film production process, particularly post. These assistant editors, whether it's 1, 2, or 3, I know when we're shooting stuff here, we all kind of act as every position.
Mm-hmm.
We're a small crew of commercial makers. It's not that intense, but we need people to be offloading, syncing, and organizing it. So we have our workflow. This is how we like it. Here's how our bins are. Here's how everything is. And so would you say that in the industry is Premiere the kind of most used editing software, or is Avid in there?
Yeah, I think let's put this way, I think still for the feature film, also a lot of TV stuff, they will still using Avid mostly, Media Composer for most of the time. But in the past couple of years, Premiere has been catching up. So Adobe try really hard to promote their software because the differences between Avid and the Adobe system is sometimes when the project requires a lot of VFX work, in the Premiere process, it's actually easier workflow between After Effects and Premiere. So back and forth, that will be a easier way. But put this way, Avid has been on the industry for a really long time. So a lot of experienced our longtime editors has been on the system. Same as a studio or all kind of network, they will still prefer Avid as more as a stable kind of systems. But sometimes for the budget situation, for the workflow decision, post supervisor and studio might change the idea to be trying to use Premiere. So I would say if you are good at the software like this, you need to know, it's better you know both how to use. So that way you're not panicking when you get a chance to get a job. And if they say, oh, if you are really good at Premiere, but a job required to be a media, to do Avid, then you'll be like, oh, no, I don't know what to do. But if you actually know the both workflow, which is majority of this generation, people do both. Depends on what job comes in, but we do have our own preferences if they ask us. But sometimes if they said, sorry, because of XYZ reason, we need to use a certain kind of software we don't tend to or prefer to use, we will still say yes, because we know how to do it anyway. As long as so the assistant editor, it's very crucial in this position because editor, like everybody knows, when you're cutting, you just pretty much cut and stick to clip together, right? And that's what we do for the editor. But for assistant editor, it requires a lot of coda and transcoding, turnover, all that kind of process, all behind it. So as an assistant editor, you need to know what the differences for these two software. And if from the beginning you receive the footage to prepare, to the end you turn over everything from offline to online. So it's good to know both. But I would say right now there are more people, more projects using Premiere for sure.
Yeah, I think when I was maybe 15 or 16, so I was 99, 2000. Yeah, I'm old. I feel old.
Same.
I remember looking into, because I really wanted to start more editing, and I had just to spend all my money on a computer that was super beefed up, and I'm like, let's look into this Avid, and I saw the price. I'm like, holy cow! At least at that time, because there wasn't, iMovie, and so I ended up spending the rest of my money and learning on Final Cut 7, and then that kind of, the beauty of that went away to Final Cut.
Yeah. I was with you too. I started as a Final Cut 7. That's how I started learning the editing software. And then after that, when Avid coming into school, when we teach in school, we use Avid. But when in the school, there's already have a Premiere, but Premiere wasn't stable. It's very easy to crush at the time because Premiere's engineer behind it is different than Avid at the time. Like when I was school, they will let you to play any clips without any delay, without using any kind of, you don't need transcode. You can just play it right away. But behind it is like using so much your computer RAM or memory, then your computer will automatically just crash and turn off.
Yeah.
That was a bad thing in the earlier on. Sometimes still happen right now. When you are too fast, if your computer is not super powerful enough, when you try to cut something, it could still happen. They will forget, they will not able to save, and you kind of lost everything. That's what we meant. Sometimes in the different process, right? Like in Avid, you feel like you are prepared, you pre-chop all the ingredient before you start heat a pan. But Premiere is like pan's already heated. Let's put all the ingredient in to see if it will make it good. You know, like it's a different type of way to do things. So I guess that's why the old way industry like prefer to do a preparation first. And then so when doing the cutting will be safe, we don't have a problem, and then we do it well. Doesn't mean Premiere you cannot do that. You can still do the same workflow, but because Premiere is so convenient, you can just drag in any kind of platform, any kind of format. It will still read, it will still play together. And so it tends to be used for a lot of short-term project, like a short film, commercial, trailer house, or even documentary, because they require multiple type of media. Like sometimes we need some shot, like you said, we have an iPhone, we have our camera. You just kind of, without thinking about the code or anything, you can just put it in, and then Premiere will do the rest for you. So you don't need to worry about it. But in the Avid workflow, you need to think about before you start it. So there's a two different kind of way when you are on the, but they both are good software. Now we are wrong software. Since iMovie can also make a good one too. It's nothing really about, to create a good content is not about what kind of software you're using. It's really about if you are a storyteller.
Yeah, I grew up playing the drums. My drum teacher always said, it's not about the drums, it's about the drummer. You know,
exactly.
It resonates, you know, and just to put it to, you know, good use, I have got a couple different machines, but I'm on right now just a MacBook Air, the base model, you know, 8 gig RAM, M1. So, but I can edit 4K footage, no problem.
That's right.
And
Right now, M1 is Premiere cut out really fast. When M1 come out, Premiere will able to do no problem between Intel and M1. Avid did take about a year-ish to finally have able to work on M1. So there is a engineer situation in Avid because it's all engineer, so it's that code in there, so they couldn't really transition that fast, same as Premiere. But right now, everybody has access to Premiere easily. So right now, Avid also trying to be on top of that. So release some kind of free version or release some kind of monthly version, like a Premiere did, just like a renting. You can just buy a month to use the software. So I would say they both are really great software, and just depends on what's the project you're working on and which one fits better for your post workflow. Yeah.
So let me ask you, with a movie like Mass, what was that like? You know, were you on set for any of that? Was it pure post-production for you? And then like, I'm still I get goosebumps thinking about that movie, because I saw it recommended. And so I pulled up the trailer, and then I made it 10 seconds in, and I'm like, nope, can't watch anymore, because I didn't want the trailer to spoil it for me. And so for me, I was literally like so tense, because the way it's cut and the way it's written, if you haven't seen the trailer, you don't know why they're there.
Yeah. Until
I forget the actress's name, but Jason Isaac's wife in the film says, you know, why do I want?
Yes.
And so that point, it's like, whoa, like I'm thinking it's something like that, but you never know. So
Yes.
walk me through what that experience was like to edit that, working with a director, I assume, kind of shoulder to shoulder on a lot of it, because it's, it wasn't a massive budget feature or anything like that. Tell me a little bit about it.
I didn't join the production until they finished shooting.
Oh, cool.
So I didn't know anything about it. I don't know them. I was also just finished a previous job and I was done with that. And then my friend reaching out and said, well, do you have time? There's a feature film. It's very low budget and they finished shooting already. I think it might be up your alley. Because I tend to like anything is more, I like good stories. I like good character arc stuff. So I was like, okay, sure. As I read the script, and then it was great. I was sitting on my couch. I couldn't really think about something because this is how it's pretty much putting unimaginable situation. And then, but it's not really about the shooting. It's about how we can walk through the grief. That's really the movie about. So when I had a first time meeting with Fran, my director, he's great. He was very nervous because he said, I know what I want for the beginning of the film before the parents sit down. I also know what I want the end of film, but I have no idea what I can do for the middle part, which is the majority of sitting down. So he did mention the film about 12 Angry Men, talk about Dinner with Andre, all that. So I was like, okay, yeah, I got an idea. I know what you want. So I said, it could work. Just let me try and then we can figure this out because on the way down. Funny enough, this film, they shot on the 4K. Sorry, they shot on 2K, I think. And then, I really forget, sorry. The first is we cut on a raw footage on Premiere.
Okay, wow.
It was raw footage on Premiere. So we had to use like a very strong computer, like a supercomputer to run, and then we cut on Premiere. But the problem is I have to carry all the sound tracks in the Premiere when I cut it. Otherwise, my assistant later need to put all the sound back before turnover. That's the differences between Premiere and Avid. When you do a turnover, Premiere will require everything need to be prepared in the timeline when we turn over to sound people. Otherwise, the metadata won't be able to carry. But the Avid tend to be able to do so. Avid has a media composer going to Pro Tools. So they have a tend to workflow over there. So we don't need to usually carry, we can only carry the mix track and then they can still generate the metadata on the Pro Tool and it'll be done. So that's a whole different kind of system. And I know when I cut in, this is like dialogue, really heavy stuff. There's no way I will able to carry 5 or 6 tracks at a time. Like when I'm cutting, it require a lot of overtime, overlaying all the dialogues. So when I was cutting the Premiere at the time, I didn't have a system. I'm just doing it myself. This is really low budget. So we're doing this part. For the first part, we do it to present an assembly/editor cut because we don't have much time for it. So I'm just kind of assembly out of it. Once we're out of it, I said we don't have much time left, and also budget-wise, I prefer we should probably switch back to Avid. So that way I can be faster to work with the director because I don't need to carry mess of audio tracks. Unless I delete that in the Premiere side and then my assistant come back to link them. But we don't have a very good, strong computer because me and assistant need to be together, working together. So in order to make everything is simpler, because Avid's good side is once you transcode it, the file size is smaller, so your computer doesn't require that much of the running power. Also, this is a lot of talking on camera shot, so it's not like we have to have an amazing picture. As long as we are able to see the performance, we are able to, because the file we receive is already good enough to be able to do so. So I decided moving forward, I hired my assistant, Chris, and he helped me to transcode everything. It's a workflow from Premiere or move everything into the Avid Media Composer. So there's a processing here. So the beginning of the cut in Premiere, later we'll cut into Avid, and we'll finish in the Avid. But when I was cutting it, I know that when the script is good, I don't necessarily has to stay on the person who's talking. Because this concept of this story, when four people sit down to talk, the language, the words itself sometimes means more for the receiver, not the one who talk. Of course, some lines are very important for the certain for that characters to deliver, but a lot of lines, this is about shooter's parents and the victim's parents. Certain words are very sensitive for both ways. So I think it's more interesting to see the reaction than see the action. So that way the story can keep going. And then by seeing the reaction, by receiving, if you're just a listener, you get a sense of how they feel, then you start to create their motivation. So if you're thinking about, like you say, Martha Prentice wrote Gail, what make her to really burst out saying, why do I want to know your son? Because he killed mine. Ugh. So when she said that, you need to pre-lap her arc. She needs to pre-build her anger, her uneasy, but she didn't talk much in the beginning of that part of the film. And she became very eager to want to know the answer, right? So you need to plant the seeds from the beginning and then to leading into that balloon pop in the room. Same as Jason Isaacs wrote Jay, when he pounded on the table saying, you do not know how my son died, that also has to plant the seeds, because you see Jay and Gail, this couple in the beginning, Jay's the one pulling Gail into the room. When Gail received her answer, Jay became the one lose control. So there's a dynamic in this victim's parents. But look, this story is not, we know when we're working on this, we know we cannot be one-sided, because this is not about who is right, has more power or dynamic. What's the dynamic in here is everybody is a loser. No one wins this situation. Since nobody wins the situation, what's left? It's a human nature. It's the terrible pain, like Gail said, is the wishing there's some kind of different kind of ending, but I can't just live in this anger anymore, because they are afraid if I forgive you, I will forget my son. So that's what she really hold on to it. So that's why in the beginning she's so mean to it, because she does not want to lose her son by. So all this dynamic, we need to create that. And then we want to make sure all characters are, when audience watching the film, they don't get lost. They were able to know who's talking, what's happening, what they feel, and the motivation, pre-motivation to have to build in the scene, so that way they can say the line for that. So it's a lot of, when I was cutting it, I was more intrigued in seeing, because I guess I'm more into a lot of European kind of film, or kind of indie style. I tend to like to see other people's reaction if the actors are good and they're able to deliver. If they are good and deliver the performance, when you see that in there, you cannot lose that. You want to put it in the film. So that way, it's actually the actor did their homework, because they were listening. The performance are very important. As an actor, you need to know what's your line coming, not only just when you're going to deliver that line, but also what make you to deliver that line. That means you need to listen to other people talking. So a good actor is able to listen and react and deliver the line in the right time, right emotion. In this film, our four actors are phenomenal. The four of them, everybody else is very great, but the four of them, they're on the top of the game. They know the character. They just go with it. So that's when we're cutting this, I'm so relieved. Like I'm able to dance around the room. I'm able to cut around everybody's reaction, action, and then make the film work. And then when me and Frame here, I'm just mostly concerned about, we don't want to bore the audience. We want to make sure.
You didn't.
Yeah.
You didn't. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we don't want to feel like too long or something. We actually cut out about a minute-ish. There's a debate. There's a conversation between Jay and Richard that talking about the politics, about there's a mental issue, about the gun control, all of that. There's even more than that. But later I told friend, I said, I feel like I'm bored because this is not a film about. This is not a film, and I'm with Gail because Gail was the one break the conversation and said, "Why are we talking about this? We're not here to talk about this." And then finally, Jay said, "Okay, we don't need to talk about it." So I feel like I'm with Gail, this character, because when I watch this as an editor, when you're watching things, you also have your sense too. You will know like if it is too long or too short, and then or it's not enough or it's too much. Or if it bores you, then you need to find a way to fix this. So when we did a test screening, and then we're like, okay, we need to cut down something. Where can we cut? And without hurting. And I said, that's a spot we need to cut. So me and friend look at it and said, okay, let's move on. So we remove about almost a minute or something out of the film. So and of course, we're training here and there so that way we can condense more. I think we cut between differences. I think it's just 10 or something differences minutes from the original test screening cut to the cut you guys seeing right now. Yeah, so I think it's a very cooperative environment with me and Frank because he was just here. He's cutting my room, and we have low budget, so this is the place I'm cutting with him. And then so, so yeah, but both that time just two of us and trying to make sure the movie it's there and everything's good. And then fortunately enough, it went out to the world and it has a great response.
And I, talking about the using the actors' reaction shots, over the dialogue and stuff like that, just for Ann Dowd. My goodness, what a face! What a face for reaction shots. And like for me, being a huge Handmaid's Tale fan, seeing her not as Aunt Lydia, but to this empathetic character, it was just the whole movie's fantastic. And if you're listening and you haven't seen Mass or you haven't even heard of it, which it didn't get the recognition it deserved, and by far I have a feeling we'll be seeing you someday on a Golden Globe or Oscar stage getting some sort of award, because that was a brilliantly cut film. And I can't give that enough accolades. Like ever since I saw it, I've been telling people, I'm like, you gotta watch this, gotta watch it, go watch this. It's just it was that good for me, and I truly enjoyed it.
Yeah, thank you.
But I think along with enjoying the film, I've tremendously enjoyed this conversation. I think you have provided so much insight into particularly the world of assistant editing. Just that core of editing in general has been so valuable. I think our students really are going to find a lot of insight from this, and I can't thank you enough for coming on the show.
Of course, thank you for having me. This is my pleasure. I'm hoping everybody will be able to get some valuable insight from this, because the world right now, we are actually lack of the assistant editor right now. A lot of people are actually looking for assistant editor. So if you are good, you are actually on top of the game. One more thing is very important. I think not only you know how to use different software, knowing the workflow, everything, you also need to develop your taste. Knowing how to tell a story. There's two differences. Everybody can be a good assistant editor because it's a technical, it's a textbook. If you know the rule, you know the pipeline, you are able to do the job. Mainly, there are two key things is human scale. If people like to spend 24 hours with you in the one room, because that's very important. Because the film in the post-production is very intimate. Me and my assistant, sometimes we need to spend the long day together. But if you want to be a good people, good energy around, we'll say this kind of funny way is editor is director's therapist, but the assistant editor is editor's therapist.
That's great.
So you always need to find out comfort. So the editor want to be comfortable with you and with the assistant editor, but in the meantime also feel safe, like you are able to deal with all that kind of technical aspect. That's a human skill. That's something we need to pay attention to, because that will help you to open a lot of doors. Because once you're good with one job or two, the word will come out and people will start looking for you. Because if you're good at your job and you are good human skills. Second part is know the story, being a good storyteller. By watching a lot of movie, watching TV show, create the taste of how you think, a sense of what a good story is, what the character is. That's how you can make the jump from assistant become editor. Because a lot of time when the editor will ask assistant, can you look at this scene for me? What do you think? Because editor always wants a second pair of eyes to see if something is not quite right or what doesn't work for you, because everybody's taste is different. So by knowing the taste of it, by knowing what project you're in, it require you has that kind of background, because those things is not just one day you can learn everything. It's really have to kind of watching a lot of movie, watch a TV show, or knowing not just only the Hollywood one. Open up your mind. There's so many stuff out there. The world cinemas is beautifully done in different way. It's not like, I'm not saying commercial type is not good. Commercial has a commercial styles, but there are stuff, indie stuff, or anything this year's Oscar stuff. If you watch that, appreciate knowing why people respond to this. Like this year, Drive My Car become such a big response. Why people like House of a Dog.
Power of the Dog?
Right? The Power of a Dog, sorry. Yeah. Why people like The Power of a Dog? Why people like The Lost Daughter? You start to get a sense of it, and then compare with Tick Tick Boom, compare with West Side Story. There are so many different kind of, you can also look at a Coda too. So
oh my gosh.
all kind of things that you learn from watching those films. You learn by knowing like, okay, there's a different kind of cinematic language in there. And then when you are assistant editor being on that kind of job, if you are able to be along the line with the editor and director, that's where you can make the jump. That's very important. I think it's something I feel like as everybody's still young, and then a lot of new media coming in, everything is on your phone, everything's on the screen. It's very easy asset. Don't miss that opportunity to create your own taste, because skill is one thing, taste is you can't be told. Nobody can teach you a taste. That's a difference.
So final question we ask everybody.
Yeah.
Just to close it out. What's your favorite movie? A little bit of a loaded question, I know, but
my favorite movie on top of my head is actually Chicago.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I'm a musical person.
Excellent.
And then I remember when I watched Chicago, that really blew my mind. I was like, how, and I'd never seen this play before when I watched it.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah. But then after watching the play, I even love movie version of the Chicago more. Because in the stage version, it's very dry. But how Chicago able to make it very poppy and then fun and then enjoyable and then the character driven. The song, of course, itself, but that's a musical level. But I remember that was when I watched it. That, oh wow, okay, that's something opened up my mind. But there's so many good films out there, but it's not necessarily just because different genre has a different type of good film. Right? Yeah. So,
well, thank you again to Yang-Hua for coming on, talking to you guys. What an amazing conversation. The insight that he gave into assistant editors, editing, post-production, and just the collaboration that's involved with a director and a sound designer was absolutely incredible. I loved it, and I think it has so much value for you guys. I'm so glad that you guys are listening, because this was such a pleasure. I cannot begin to thank him enough. An incredible movie, Mass, and to get to speak to somebody of Yang's caliber and stature is so great. So if you students are not part of our Discord channel, make sure you sign up with your parents' approval and permission. It's a great place. We all have a lot of fun in there. And make sure you come back next week for another great episode. And if there is somebody that you want me to try to get on the show, right, let me know. I am not afraid to reach out to anybody and just ask, because that's how I've gotten all these guys, simply asking. So until next week, watch something great and go make something great.